Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the 1% Club podcast. I am back again here with a friend of mine that we met actually when I was still in California back in the day. We have a mutual friend called Leon Scharf, or Scharf, how we call him. And we used to coach against quite a few times when he was coaching at Real SoCal and I was at FC Golden State. We had multiple teams in different divisions, sometimes as head coaches, sometimes as assistant coaches. And it's someone that was always a great game on the field, but also a great level of respect. Is someone that's very, very professional, very caring. It to me is no wonder the success that he has achieved. So my guest today is Victor Garcia. He is now a video analyst for LAFC. He is also a college coach, a youth coach, and it's a pleasure to have him here to have him share some of his ideas, some of his philosophies, and like I always tell everyone here, to show that someone that gets to a certain level of success, it's no accident. It happens over a long period of time. Life is not made of a highlight reel. It is faced with lots and lots of adversities, and it's someone that has the pleasure also to represent his country. He works at the international level as well. So it's a great, great pleasure to have you here, Victor. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and share your experience with us.
Thank you, Talis. It's been a long time, I think. It's interesting how life works in regard to when we start our careers, wherever that is. You meet somebody where you see where they're at that point and where we're at today. And first and foremost, thank you for having me. I'm excited. It's an honor for me to be here and chat with you about life, the soccer paths that we've taken, the progress, and what that means, and where we're at today. So thank you again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. And to everyone listening or watching us, the objective of the 1% Club is to show everyone that no matter where you are, no matter where you're starting, no matter your conditions, you can always improve, you can always get better. And my objective is to inspire and to help people see that life is beautiful. Life is wonderful. You can always improve, you can always develop, you can always get better, no matter what conditions you are in, even if you can only take one step forward. And that's the concept of 1% is always 1% better than you were the day before. Always facing and learning your own difficulties, your own battles, winning the battle, always within your fears, your insecurities, your lack of confidence, anything like that. So, my personal objective is to share stories about people that have got to a great level, not only in soccer. I've had people here from different areas of life, volleyball coaches, soccer coaches, just regular people, in order for us to see and learn that life happens with us. So it's not a matter of avoiding the difficulties, it's a matter of learning how to deal and how to handle with them when they come. So, Victor, you are currently in Arizona for a showcase for your youth club. So tell us a little bit about yourself now, where you are, what you do, what are you coaching, what are your responsibilities, your roles, what is a week like in the life of Victor Garcia right now at this moment?
Yeah, it's a very busy time. Obviously a little bit different from what it was like as a college coach. So up until November of last year, I decided to try something different. And the primary objective of that was how can I dedicate more time to family? So at the time, I had already the opportunity to work with LAFC 2 as a video analyst, which was an exciting opportunity, obviously because of what LAFC represents, but also the top of level and people that you work with is quite unique and exciting, um, and at the same time, being fortunate to be able to still remain in the youth club soccer world at LA Surf, where I coach MLS Next 2007 boys and Elite Academy 2007 boys as well, which is why we're here for the EA showcase. Fortunately, as even as a college coach, sometimes you have to handle two different job responsibilities. So fortunately, with the second team at LAFC, we have 3 days off, and it happened to be the weekend of the showcase, so I'm able to manage that a little bit in that regard. And yeah, it's been very busy, but exciting to kind of juggle the difference between both levels and the environments where they're completely different, and learning a lot every day as I go.
I love that. I love that quite a few things that you said there. One is to dedicate more time to the family, and the second one is always learning, always growing, always looking for ways to improve and get our craft a little bit better. So take us back a little bit before we get back into where you are now. I would like to start from the very beginning. Where did you grow up? How was your playing career, and where did it all start? Does it come from family, dad, grandparents? Who first got you into the beautiful game?
Oof, I love that question because it takes me in a very unusual path, I think, because I was born in El Salvador, and I grew up there until about when I was 10, 11 years old.
Okay.
So I moved to the United States when I was 10 or 11, something like this. And the first 10, 11 years of my life, my father was already here in the United States. So, for that period, I grew up without him. He was always there and supportive and things like that. But I don't know how I fell in love with the game, but it was just cultural. It was around.
Yeah.
Whether I was at school or in the neighborhood on the street, I remember coming back from school, doing homework, helping at the house as a 7, 8 year old. And once you're done, dinner's done, go outside and play.
Yeah.
And the streets are rough, and it's rough in a sense that it's not grass, it's cement or dirt with rocks, and you don't have the shoes, so you just go outside and play. And during that time is probably where I fell in love with the game, just like most of us, right? Just it's there, and
Yeah.
you learn to compete, you learn to make friends, and then you get a little lucky and you become part of a team at school, and then you like a little bit of what that feels like, being part of a team, competing, winning, losing, all of that stuff. But as a young boy, and once I moved to the United States, there was a period where it was all about the transition. Lucky to be with mom and dad together,
Yeah.
learning the new language, making new friends, and that took sort of like the priority in the first, I would say, 6 months.
Yeah.
Then eventually you try to look for the game, and again, maybe showing up early or in recess, lunch, try to play. And as I went on, I found a way to connect with people and learn about club soccer. At the time, I think I joined Hollywood Pal, something like this. I don't know if you ever heard of them. Then
I
later,
have not.
FC Barcelona,
Yeah.
um, and just started competing soccer then. And you know, I always thought I needed to dedicate myself to education, but right next to it was the game. So I always thought I need to be well educated. I need to go to college. I need to get good grades. I need
Yeah.
to better myself every day. Um, I didn't think anything about coaching other than just play and educate myself. And sure enough, I grew up, went to college. I wasn't the best or most technical player, I would say, but I was tough, and I wanted to compete and I wanted to win the ball, and I just give it to the guys that could do more than I do. So I
Yeah.
found a way to be in the game that way, and I think that's one reason why I found my way to move up in the game somehow. I needed to find a way because I
Yeah.
knew I wasn't going to play. So by 18 years old, I thought I need to coach. And education was important. So instead of becoming an engineering major or an engineer or pursuing anything related to that,
Yeah.
I somehow found kinesiology. Oh, I get to learn how to teach, teaching related to coaching.
Yeah.
So I pursued that in, I majored in kinesiology, later got my master's in education. And while I was doing that, I was also trying to juggle the coaching, got involved in college as well, got
Yeah.
involved in the academy at the time. And fortunately, and I don't know if it's by chance, but I think that if you're hardworking, you're a good person, you you meet people that will open the door for you. And
Absolutely.
and it started with Sharif Zain, who opened the door to club soccer. Then that allowed me to connect with Juan Flores and Terry Davila at Cal State Northridge. I was going to school at Cal State Northridge, and that opened the door to higher level club soccer at the time with the academy at Real
Yeah.
SoCal. And then that's where kind of taking those steps up took a pause, but that was a pause where it was the roller coaster begins, where you learn, where you fail, you do it all over again. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Then it's horrible. You want to quit coaching or like, what am I doing? Things
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So all of those things were happening at the same time where I naturally just invested myself to let's see where this goes because I like where it's going.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had no idea I had no idea that I would become an assistant coach at in college.
Yeah.
Never, I wasn't even thinking about Division One. I was just thinking, just being part of it and learning and doing all those things.
Yeah.
At some point, you kind of realize I want to do this. I like this. I like that. But yeah, that's a little bit of. I think I went in many different directions there.
Oh, we're gonna dive in deeper because you've said so many great things. The first one that I would like to go back is where you said you basically played soccer in the streets and you were making friends, you were trying to figure it out how to compete. What would you say were the main social skills that you learned through the game of football in El Salvador first, and then moving to the US and trying to figure it out how life is? What do you think are the main differences coming from El Salvador and then moving here and trying to figure it out? Because we're from different countries. We're foreigners. We didn't really grow up here, so it is very different. What were the main cultural differences that you found? And sorry, I asked two questions in one. So first, what were the main social skills? And then secondly is what were the main differences that you found from there to being in the US?
I think you said we try to figure it out, and I think everybody has a certain way of doing that, and we are who we are. As a person, I guess you can describe me as a kind human being. I like to help others, maybe a little bit too much sometimes, but I want to help others. So I've always been that kind of person, and and I think what it taught me growing up, and to be honest, I never thought about it until you asked it. And I think it's like, how do I survive in this? Because, not everyone is the great leader, and not everyone has the personality where everybody looks up to you in that regard, or because you're a great player, or because whatever it is that those qualities are.
Yep.
So, what he taught me was I need to find a way to be involved. And the way to be involved for me was to show up, and then let's see what happens in this moment and do the best you can there. And I think the main thing that he taught me was I had a place in helping others come together. So I'll give you an example that I remember. when I was in school, we all played in at home, in the backyard, on the streets, things like that.
Yeah.
I never thought I was the best player, but I wanted to be a part of a team.
Yeah.
And the way for me to do that was, you know what? I'll make the team at school for when you had intramurals, things like that. So
Yeah.
without thinking about it, now that I think about it, I put together a team and I would partly play the least, but I had a team. I picked the players and then would
Wow.
play,
Yeah. Yeah.
things like that. And I remember, and this is, I'm not ashamed to say it, but I remember scoring an own goal. It was my turn to play. I subbed him out and I go in and I score an own goal. And obviously was devastated, but I was, you know what? I've had enough. You need to go back in, pull myself out and played. Think something like that. Like I found a way
A
to be
lesson.
involved in the game that way. And every year, as for as long as I remember, that's the only memory that I remember being in a team in El Salvador.
Yeah.
Um, but it taught me that like I needed to find a way to be involved.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that moving now to the United States, I knew I wanted to play. I needed to learn to communicate, and I think I improved as the as just being able to communicate for a little bit in terms of in Spanish, and then taking that to English was quite challenging because I felt like this is not going to work
Mm-hmm.
because there were just too many differences. Um, so then you learn or pick up on new interests. I computers are available. At the time, I think I became more interested in technology, computer, things like that. I was still playing the game,
Yeah.
but I think part of it was that I knew the differences in levels. So I'm going back to the beginning. Okay, I need to figure out how to be involved,
Be
and I think
involved. Yeah.
that's and I think that's where I learned about video. Um, Watching players on video, how does that help you in your own game? Things like that. I think YouTube was just starting at the time. But if I could go back and just in short, you have to put yourself out there. You have to not be afraid to make a mistake because that's gonna happen. You're uncomfortable emotionally, and sometimes that affects your performance, but you do it again the next day. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes you don't feel good about yourself, but you do it again the next day, and you try again, and I think that's even as of today, that still happens because you still have to interact with people, and people are different, and we're all doing that in our own way, trying to figure out how to work together.
It's always a matter of perspective, isn't it? If you view mistakes as an opportunity to grow, to improve, and you know you are going to make, you know it's not going to always be rainbow and butterflies. There are going to be times that are difficult, that you are growing, you're improving, you're getting better, but that will pass. It's a matter of trying to figure it out. What is, to me, I always go back to what's your intention. If your intention is to grow, to serve, to help others, and it's something I would like to talk to you about that we haven't talked before, and I wanted to ask you something that you said about, if you believe, if you are a good person and you do things right, some way, somehow, things start to fall in place. You meet the right person, you are introduced to someone that you didn't even know was there. Uh, that I say, there are no coincidences. I'm a very spiritual guy. I believe in God, I believe in the universe. So I believe that if you do your part, God does his part, and he puts people on your path that are helping you grow. What's your faith, Victor? So growing up, parents, did you grow up in a religious family? Did you guys go to church, or anything like that? Because I know a lot of Hispanics, a lot of the Latinos, they're very strong. Their faith is very big. What do you see? How did you grow up in that sense?
I was born into a Catholic family,
Yeah.
and from what I remember and the surroundings, and then in my environment growing up, it was that. Um, we didn't always go to church that I remember, but there were times where, yeah, we would, as a family, go to church. And even though I wouldn't say I'm the most religious human being, um, I do believe, and I met my girlfriend at the time, my now wife. She's Christian, and I'm the one that will always be, what works for all of us. And we go to a Christian church now, and unfortunately, because of my responsibilities as a coach and as an analyst, that's not possible all the time.
Yeah.
But in our calendar, it's there. Sunday, 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. If we're there, we're probably gonna go to church.
Love it, love it, love it. And Victor, let me go back a little bit more again. So you said that you basically the beginning was the beginning of YouTube, and you start to see some interest in computer and technology and all of that. So take me through your college route. How did you get into college? Did you go to play? Did you just go as a student? And when you met uh Terry and those guys at CSUN, were you playing, or were you already coaching? Because you said that you started coaching at around 18 already. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I graduated from high school, and I had no clue about college. And I remember applying last minute to a couple of UCs, a couple of Cal State schools, some out of state schools. Um, I remember at the time there was a big requirement about community service. I did my 60 hours. I don't remember. It was an insane amount that you're supposed to do throughout your freshman, sophomore, junior year, senior year. I don't know if that still exists, but I remember doing that late. And I was admitted to a few schools and went to UC Riverside for about a year.
Okay.
And at the time, again, no idea about the college process. I didn't even know
I
you could
just give
play.
everybody a little bit of context. Guys, so Victor moves from El Salvador to California, and in California, the UC system is the University of California. So that's what he is referring to, just for everyone listening or watching us, just so they have a little more context. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, no, that's okay. So I went to UC Riverside. Again, I didn't really have a clear vision of what I was gonna do. I, slip through research, you learn a little bit about there's college soccer, there's Division One, there's Division Two, there's Division Three. So I was going to UC Riverside as a computer engineering major, and my intention was to pursue that. And
Okay.
you know what? I'll try to play. So I remember attending a tryout. It's funny, at the time, Junior Gonzalez was the head coach.
Oh, are you coaching with him now at LAFC?
He as I don't think we brought it up or have a conversation, but I don't think he remembers me because he didn't
Oh,
recruit me,
wow.
so but I remember attending the tryout. I remember training for a day or two, and then it didn't work out. And you know, I was already dealing with that, I think, knee injury, something with my knee. I still have the same problem.
Yeah,
But again, my way was, you know what, I'm gonna go to college. And you go through college, and there's that gap. You reach something, and then it feels like you get stuck, but you're there for a little bit,
the
and then
plateau.
you juggle that, and then sometimes you go a little bit lower, something happens, or sometimes you take a step in the next direction. And college was difficult to go to from a financial standpoint. Eventually I decide to go back to LA and move to the San Fernando Valley. And as a family, I remember telling my parents, you know what, this doesn't make sense for us.
Yeah.
And as a young adult at the time, I didn't feel comfortable putting that extra stress to the family because
On your
everything was
parents.
done out of pocket. And at the time,
Yeah.
um, my only documentation was a work permit. So I could work, I could be here legally, but I could not get any financial aid. So it was difficult.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so we decided, you know what? We went back to the San Fernando Valley. I attended LA Valley College for 2 years, and
Okay.
those 2 years were important because I was able to get into coaching at the high school level at John Marshall High School, uh, and without any idea about it,
Yeah.
just fell in
Yeah.
love with it. But I just did it because I wanted to be involved in soccer. He was like, "Oh, you know what?
So was that your first coaching job?
My first job,
Wow.
my
Okay.
first
I
job."
love it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was and it again, it's somebody that you came along the way where your high school coach is coaching at John Marshall High School, and I text him, "Hey, how's Marshall doing?" And he's like, it's going well." And I asked him, "Can I come by and check it out?" And they turned, "Hey, you want to work with the JV team?" And it's like, "Sure." And I thought, I'm gonna volunteer, no problem. And then say, "You got to fill out this form," and he turned into a job.
Wow.
And just it just happened like that. And you know what, I'm gonna give it a try. At the time, again, watching soccer as much as I could, Jose Mourinho was the coach at the time that I remember. He
Yeah.
was at Porto, Chelsea, something like this, and the diamond midfield. And you know what, we're gonna play like Jose Mourinho.
Yeah. Yeah.
um 4-4-2 diamond, press, counter, sit back, counter, things like that. um it was a rough first couple of months as a coach. I had no idea what I was doing, but eventually you have to figure out how to deal with people and I had to figure out how to be a coach.
And were you
And
in charge of running the training sessions, the games, everything already for the JV team?
for the JV team, yes, there was a
Okay.
JV coach, that was me, and there was a varsity coach.
Yeah.
The coach that brought me on board moves on sometime in December. The AD Wendy Triplet. I sometimes text her, "How you doing?" Things like that. But I came in, she asked me to come in, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to take over the program, the varsity program?"
Wow. This
And
is
I'm
just a
like,
couple months after you started?
I started in August, and in December, she asked me that question.
Wow. Okay.
And and
What'd you
I,
say? Yes.
I said yes, no problem.
Yes.
I've never been able to ask her, but I wonder, like, did you know I was 18 years old? Like, that's like, I mean, a year ago, I was just in high school.
Well, some of the kids are almost as old as you. The seniors are almost
Uh,
18 already.
yes. So that was very interesting. And I go back to, we try to figure it out. And I knew
Find a way.
I needed to be a role model. I knew I needed to be a little bit more serious. I needed to separate somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and Mourinho at the time was this guy with his big personality. I knew that wasn't me, but I knew I needed to be a personality to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So I needed to be firm and strong, and that was my way of trying to cope with being a young coach that had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
And we lost the first 2-3 games. We end up winning the league that year and make
The
the playoffs
first
for the
year that
first
you're in
time.
charge.
Yes, yes,
Yes. Okay.
yes. So and we won the league and it was fun. And I was like in junior college, and I told my parents, you know what, I'm enjoying this college stuff and I'm gonna change my major. I'm gonna become a teacher, a physical education teacher. I see that the teachers, they do PE during the day and then they coach in the afternoon. I
Yeah.
loved it, and it was like a great situation. And I did that. The following season in high school, I I reached out to college to coaches, and two of those kids played for under Sharif Zain at the time, and I asked him, "Look, I'm trying to build this program. Like, I'm new, I'm doing this, I'm doing that." And he's like, "Come to training," and he allowed me to work with him. and in return, I basically work with him during in his club, and he allowed his players to train with me, so that there's a little bit of overlap,
Yeah.
but we sort of work together because I wanted to coach my players. And
Okay.
he's like, yeah, no problem. You can coach your
So you
players at high school.
you could coach your players in club and in high school.
I thought you could do that. Yes, I thought
Yeah.
you could do that, but I just wanted to work with him so that
Yeah.
I can still see the kids. I can still um, be involved with them and learn and things like that. And
Yeah.
I remember just showing up to a Sharif Zain practice as easy elite, and he's like, "What are you doing with yourself now?" It's like, I just transferred to Northridge. This is maybe 4 seasons after becoming a coach, a high school coach.
Yeah.
And she's like, Terry Davila, Juan Flores, they played for me. So he said something like that to me.
Who
And
didn't play for Sharif in California?
and it's like, oh, really? That's pretty cool. And have you reached out to them? And I remember, yeah, I sent an email to Terry at the time, and I told him, look, I'm gonna transfer. I'm gonna major in kinesiology. How can I get involved? How can I help?
Yeah.
No response, but it was the moment that Sharif makes the connection. Again, a person, you make a connection with somebody, that person makes a connection with somebody. You
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what? He's a good guy. He works hard. He wants to learn. And then next day or 2 days later, I'm sitting down with Terry, and he's very honest, and he tells me I don't have a job, but I need help with video.
Okay.
And I was like, I'll do it. What do you want me to do? So it started with
Well, and
filming
you
session.
already had the interest in that, right?
I always did.
Yeah.
I always did.
Okay.
But I had no idea that there were devices. I think iPod was the company. You use a iPod, you put the camera, you control it, you film training, you upload it, things like that. That's the first um, really responsibility that I had as in college.
Yeah.
And that became something very unique because I was a student. I wasn't an athlete, but I was involved as a staff. I counted Northridge for the men's team, and that took maybe 7 years of education. Instead of playing, you're now doing different things as a college staff member
Yeah. Yeah.
that eventually turns into a college job as an assistant coach. So my first,
So it naturally, eventually, you just kept working and working, and you were offered the job as an assistant.
yes,
Okay.
7 years later, 7 years later. So
7 years later.
yeah,
Guys, so whoever is watching this, please remember something. Life is not a highlight reel. 7 years in the making, and people feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not playing after 2, 3 games. I want to quit. I want to go to a different team. Guys, patience. Patience is key. All right, go
yeah,
on. 7 years later.
yeah, and look, my first title was director of video operations. So I helped out with some administrative stuff, camps, things like that.
Men's side.
Sorry?
On the men's side.
On the men's side, yes. And
Yeah.
then did all the video. And then eventually you do something well, and you're given another responsibility.
Yeah.
Now I'm cutting some clips. Then I'm making scouting reports. Um, and then you're doing a little bit more soccer. So that was fun and it was interesting. But one thing that I always said, I see the coaches that are ahead of me, or the people that are ahead of me. And Yossi Ras played there, now an assistant, then moves on to become a head coach at Pomona. Zach Feldman, Jose Luis Garcia, all those guys, they played for Terry. They
Yeah.
take the step into coaching. So that leads to another. So I, I had to find a way to, how do I get to that level, but without having the same path as the others, where
Mhm.
you played for the head
Creating
coach.
your own path. Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you you earn his trust because you played for him. You build that relationship. That is a very unique relationship that you build with a- another person. And I thought the only way was to show up and to work hard, do the job, do it
Love
well,
it. Yeah.
and then eventually they see that. Like that is very noticeable. The problem is that
Hard
you
work
think
pays off.
you do it once or twice, people see it, but they want to see it for a long time. And I don't think that's something that we think about as a coach now. I don't think that's something you think, oh, he's working hard. You see it, but you only make note of it in a meaningful way after you see it for a long period of time.
Yep.
Like this person has gone through this for enough time. That means that there's consistency. That means that there's discipline. That means that there's intention. That means that there's drive
Yep.
and optimism too. Because and I remember at certain times where, you know what, I don't know if I'm ever going to get the opportunity. And when the day or the moment I thought about that is the moment it happened, where somebody moves up,
Yeah.
somebody moves on, something happens,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you get your opportunity. And that was a very exciting day for me because you're able to coach, you're able to support the coaches at a Division 1 college. You go through some really good experiences, some rough ones. You win some games, you lose some soul breaking games, and but you're part of it. And I think that once you invest emotionally,
Yeah.
you have faith that you know what, something's going to happen from this. You obviously give up other things, but at the same time, it makes it all worth it.
100%. That you said the word. I was actually going to say that is faith. To me, is not the religious faith that we some people talk about. It's the faith of continue to show up, continue to put in the time and effort without knowing what the outcome will be. So that to me is what we say. Focus on the process. Focus on becoming your best self, your better version, and if you continue to show up day in, day out, especially the days that you don't feel like doing, those are the defining moments. And something will eventually happen. An opportunity will be created. Like you said, someone will move on, someone finds another job, they go, and the opportunity comes. But you got to be prepared. And that's something that I really admire talking to you more is you kept on going. You kept on working on yourself, improving, developing. You just didn't wait around and said, "Oh, I've done my share and now it's my time." No, you continued to show up and develop that relationship. And now you are at a D1 school, a very good program in California. What are the main lessons that you learned at this level now? Coaching, doing video, analyzing opponents, doing scouting reports. What is something that you say, wow, I didn't know this thing about college soccer, about the coaches, any life lessons that you learned? Is there a specific moment that you were like, wow? Because you said some guys that we both know, Yossi, Zach, and those guys, very, very high level coaches. So, is there one moment, one thing that you can point out that you went, wow, this is like I'm leveling up, I'm really learning now?
There are a few periods. I think the first one is when you first get hired to be a full-time coach. It's a different level of emotional investment in the job.
Okay.
Because now you have a little bit of more pressure. Now you feel that a mistake can affect the program in a important way. And even though I wasn't the head coach, I know that the emotions or the pressures that I felt don't even come close to what the head coach feels. So you become a little bit more connected to the job and the people that you work with because it's a
You're
big
part of the staff?
responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of the team.
So I think that was the first thing. And with that, you feel that you can, yeah, I can see myself doing this. I remember we played at New Mexico, and we won the game 3-2. New Mexico at the time was a, a highly ranked team, and Terry asked me, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And in my mind, I was like 100%. Like the feeling of how tough the game was. I think they had 2,000, 3,000 people at the game. It was
Wow.
fun. It was a great experience. No, yeah, no problem. And once you go through that process, you pay your dues, as we say, and you get to that level, the responsibility, you get to it, the responsibility just becomes a little bit bigger, which means that you need to continue to find ways to learn. Maybe you're doing the same thing, but how can you make that a little bit more efficient? Just
Hmm.
like we work on passing, or we work on switching the point of attack as a coach, or we're trying to analyze the next opponent. Like, how do you improve that each week? And that's something that I think was like a cycle each week, each month, each year. Um,
Small
and I,
improvement. Yep.
and I don't know if you know this, but what I decided to leave college in November of last year, and when I got to the point, I felt that I had done enough where I was ready to take onto a new path and a new responsibility. And but looking back, it was hard. There's a lot of time that you spend away from family.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time that you spend looking for players, figuring out the next training session, dealing with the budget, things like that. There are so many moving pieces as a college coach,
Yeah.
and I cannot imagine what it's like, at a higher level. So, but again, the I go back to, hard work. Yeah, you're right. Hard work pays off, but at the same time, once you have more responsibility, you have to be a little bit more intentional. You have to be a little bit more specific, and you have to be organized. You have to do so many things, and just know that there's going to be bumps along the way. It's never perfect. Sometimes it is, but not all the time. And that cycle keeps going. And
Yeah.
and as I got older, the more I did it, the longer I spent, just being a coach and a college coach, the more I realized, is this it? You know, um, and that actually allowed me to experience the national team level, and that was unbelievable. And but once you feel that, then you question yourself, like, okay, what's the next step?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
What else can I do? Yeah.
once you feel that, um, you want more of it. And I think and it's just like when a player moves up to the first team, or when you go to the academy level, whatever the level is that you achieve, you want more of it, and then you have a choice: continue to push, continue to work hard, continue to improve. You want more, or you get stuck and then you come back down, or you lose a couple of games, or you have a losing season. And again, so it's been a great journey, and so far, happy where we're at.
And Victor, take me back a little bit. How long were you in college soccer altogether? How many years?
Since 2013, spring 2013
So over
to
11 years.
November of last year. Yeah.
Okay. What would you say as a video analyst, as a coach, taking care of the budget and all of that? What advice would you give to someone here watching us, listening to us? There's a lot of kids that follow me and want to learn a little bit more. They have aspirations to play college, to play D1. Is there a few characteristics that you can, or a few traits of the players that you guys were after? Were they just good players? Was just on the field? Are you looking for athletes? You're looking for human beings? You're looking for the whole package, the importance of grades and all of that. And going back to your own story where you didn't even know what to do going to college, and there's a lot of requirements. You got to have some specific classes. You got to qualify to play D1. So can you take us through that journey? How does it work from a coach's, from a staff point of view to recruit someone to play in college and to play D1 college?
You know, I think it's different for everybody, for every program, but I think that one or two things that everybody will have in common is the type of person you want around you. And I think that some transferable traits, an industrious human being is, it goes a long way. Honesty, are you a good human being in that regard where, are you self-driven? Are you responsible? And one that I'm learning now, looking back, is because I see it everywhere now, is being self-aware of who you are.
Mhm.
And when I look at a player, does he know where he's at or where she's at? Does the player know what his strengths are, what the weaknesses are, what their process is like? Are they doing enough to get to where they want to be? So, some schools have higher academic requirements, so you
Yeah,
need to pay attention to those details. Talent can only get you somewhere, but there's a big connection with being a good person, being talented, being industrious, the discipline that comes with that, and
yeah,
those players, those individuals are the ones that usually make it. And if you know exactly where you're at, and um, this is who I am as a player, this is what I can achieve, this is what I can do, you'll find a place. The challenge is when you are not self-aware of who you are and where you could be. And but that also lies on us. As for example, I'll take the college hat off and I'll put the youth coach hat on,
yeah,
and it's our job to help them realize those things, because
yeah.
the reality is not everyone can go to Division 1, but there are great Division 2s and Division 3 programs that
Absolutely.
you can find a home. And I always say this: there's a home for everybody. It's up to you to find it as well. And looking back, I say hard work will take me wherever I need to get to. Um, Today, I will say hard work is a big part of it.
Yeah,
Who can you reach out for help is a big part of it, because you need people, you need support, and and learn and educate yourself a little bit on what it really means to be a prospect, because being a prospect is now more than ever one of the hardest things a youth individual can go through. You know, Division 1 colleges recruit internationally from MLS academies, from junior colleges, from high school, from
yeah.
club. So it's a challenge, and there are options out there, and I think that it's very it's a very unique process. It's one of the most difficult ones. It's harsh, maybe not fair sometimes, but that's also what life is as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, one thing that you said, and I absolutely love, and I would like to get a little bit deeper into it. What is your definition? You said the main trait is for the players to be self-aware. What would be your definition of self-awareness for a soccer player?
That's a very good question. I think there are two parts, maybe three. The game today is very it's as simple as it's ever been, and it's as complex as it's ever been. Like you need to really know who I am as a player. I'll give you a personal example.
Yeah,
Um, Not athletic, technical enough, hardworking, but not technical enough to play in a possession-oriented team. But
yeah,
I could move enough to be somewhere. So I'm thinking, okay, does my style of play fit this type of school? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Or maybe this soccer team. I played on two different teams. One team that was win the ball counter, and I did well on that team. But I played on a different team that was more possession oriented. I struggled,
Mm,
and that is one small part of it. Do I fit into that type of school? That's number one. Number two, from the academic standpoint, is my GPA the correct one that fits into that university? Um, my personality also has to do with fits. Some some colleges look for a very outspoken individual, somebody that is very I don't know how to describe it, but not outspoken maybe, but maybe they're very present. They're very
mhm, mhm.
um, do you know what I'm missing the correct word here, but their personality stands out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that is an important piece. And
They're looking for
I
leadership qualities. Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't think I was a leader as a player, and but somehow I became somebody that is in a leadership position as a coach. Um, and then the humanistic aspect in terms of can you survive on your own? That is an important piece that I think a lot of us miss. Sometimes this player is talented, he's hardworking. Maybe the personality, maybe he needs to be a little bit more vocal, maybe he needs to be a little bit more outgoing, maybe he needs to put himself out there. Sometimes personality is just putting yourself out there. Um, does he need support? Can he do X, Y, and Z on his own? Things like that. I think those are important things.
And when you say about the self-awareness, knowing your level and everything like that, is that part of the reason why you say it is hard for people to do it alone? And what I mean by that is we've seen, thousands of players over our coaching careers. And what I feel like, especially in America, a lot of parents and kids, their dream is, oh, I want to play D1. And to what you were saying is that maybe there's a great D2 school, but it's not what I want. So it's being real about not just a playing level, but a combination of everything. Maybe it's a budget issue, maybe it's an athletic issue, maybe it's something that you need someone, you need some guidance, you need a mentor, you need someone to open your eyes and say, hey, this is not the only path. You can go and you can do something else. You can find a different school. So, what's the importance that you give on parents, players, listening to people that have been involved in the game and can give you a path, can give you an understanding of, hey, there are different options. So don't be too stuck into, oh, I only want to go D1. I need to find out what the options are, and I need my eyes open, and I need to be humble enough to understand where do I stand, where do I go. So how would you what kind of advice would you give to someone that might be in that position, like, oh, but I only want to play D1, or I only want to play this, or I am good enough? What would you say to that?
It's very simple. I think if you only want to be a Division 1 player, then your options are going to be much, much less limited. That is very simple, and it becomes harder. And it doesn't mean that it won't happen. It could, but now you have to think about as a player, where am I gonna be a fit? There are, I forget the number, but 200 and something Division 1 schools. That's it. So out of all those options, all of those coaches, they have to find something in you that they like. And then they have to ask themselves, can you play? And you may think that yeah, I can play at this school, but the coach may not think that. And that's the perspective that is difficult to understand. And that is why you need to broaden your options. And it's okay if you just want to be in Division 1, but you're missing out on other great opportunities, not only from an athletic standpoint, but from academic standpoint and even a financial standpoint, where you may have the grades to go to this Division 1 school, but this other option will give you more academic support. Maybe it's in the location that you like a little bit more. There are so many different situations, aspects that could make that school the best college program for you. And I think that I'll say, if since we're in LA, UCLA will be the number 1 college program for some individuals,
Yeah.
but it's possible that it won't be for many,
Hmm.
and that's okay. But if you find something that you really love, like I coach this kid, he's on my '07 team, and he in the beginning he was in love with the idea of going to a Division 1 school in Texas, and that's what he wanted. That's all he knew was going to happen.
Yeah.
And through conversation, through guiding him into being aware of this option is good because they have a plan for you. They want you to be a big they have a big role for you when you get here. Maybe you play in 1 year, maybe you play in the second. But I remember his exact words. I love that they wanted me. I love that they had a plan for me. I love that he mentioned so many, and it wasn't Division 1 anymore. But he found something that he felt was right for him,
Part
and
of it.
all it took was to listen. That's all it took. And I think that that's a hard thing for prospects to do. But once you do, you're happy. You're so happy that you did it, and you don't regret it. And I think that that's where all of us as coaches, mentors, need to keep preaching every single day, because you may say once or twice, it's not gonna it's not gonna happen, and it's a message that has to be repeated over and over again. And yes, it does happen. Yes, you get to go to the Division 1 school that you want to go to. But if it doesn't mean you're less than. It just means that your path is different than others, and that's okay. If you want to be a pro, you can be a pro out of Division 1, 2, or 3.
Absolutely.
It's a different path. I've seen this meme. I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter or X, whatever it is called now. Um, you're great if you're in Division 1. You're great if you're Division 2.
Yeah.
You're great if you're Division 3. Something like that. Junior college, you're great. Something like this, and it's so
Absolutely.
true.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's unique. Everybody has a different path. And to me, it's about being humble enough. Like you said, it's just like making mistakes, learning, trying to figure it out. If it's not here, it will be there. It will be somewhere where you feel wanted, you feel part of it, and you always do your best. And Victor, now you left the college game November of last year. And how is the experience working at LAFC, working for the MLS Next Pro and working for our, well, he's your boss now, but he's my friend, Junior Gonzalez. And I know Fabian also very well. And I am so old that I used to coach Fabian back in the day in Miami when I lived in Miami in about 2006. Fabian was one of my players when I was just starting, and also Klein Plummer. Oh my gosh! So the staff I'm very familiar with, and
You coach clean. You coach clean
no,
Plummer.
Klein is older than me. Come on.
But I thought that's what you said. I was like, what?
No, no, no. Klein, when I first moved to California, Klein was coaching at Marshall High School in Pasadena. He was the PE teacher and the head coach. I love Klein. I hope I can get Klein. I hope I can get Fabian, and I hope I can get Junior. So one of your tasks will be to help me get them over here. So
Absolutely.
how was the transition from college to the pro game, and what are your responsibilities now at a professional soccer team and such an amazing club like LAFC? How did that transition happen? How did you start? How did it all happen for you?
I was very fortunate. Just just as I had the opportunity to be in the El Salvador national team, it was through somehow you meet that person that
So let's
helps
go
you
right
get through
there.
the door.
So let's go to that since you mentioned. So how did you also get involved with the national team? Tell us more.
Oh man, Jerson is gonna kill me. You know Jerson Perez, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think he was at Silicon Valley as a director at the time, and he'd always give me a hard time because as a college coach, you recruit everywhere,
Yeah.
and he would always tell me, "Man, Northridge never recruits from our club," and he'd give me a hard time all the time. So every time we'd talk, it was about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and when he was hired to work for the national team as an assistant, his dad Hugo Perez was also there. I just sent him a text say congrats. I know that every national team staff needs a video analyst, and I love that. And
Yeah.
but what I was doing at the time was, as a college coach, I was also trying to figure out that analysis piece. That is, it was becoming more prominent, especially right after COVID.
Okay.
You had many companies that would propose their program. This is the program that you need to use because it does X, Y, and Z. And there's
Yeah.
Sports Code, there's Metrica, My Video Analyzer. There's so many programs out there. So I would start during COVID. I played with all of those, and and just like you think as a player, can I be a Division 1 player or a Division 2, whatever that level is?
Yeah.
Once you're self-aware, you know where you can get to. The
Yeah.
question is how. And and then I think that as a college coach, I realized, okay, I can either make the attempt to go to a Division 1, Division 2 as a head coach, or be an assistant elsewhere. Um, but there's also the national team. There's also pro. Like, how do you take that jump?
Yeah. Yeah.
And and then
Love it.
and then I realized that coaching helped me understand the game, and video analysis was probably the route that fit me, that would help me get to that level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I
So
could have
unique.
texted Jerson and told him, "Hey, if you need another assistant, which I'd love to coach," I could have said that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I felt that
You
for
and
me,
50 other people.
and I just, "Hey, if you need somebody, let me know." And it's like, I know we need one. I'll let you know. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen right away. And a few months later, I was coaching against Legends. It was a tough game in Norco, California. You know Norco,
Oh,
Silver Lakes.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, he must have called me like 10 times during my game. And he said, call me back ASAP. And I call him back, and no response. I guess he was calling me before he got on the plane from Washington to Texas.
Okay.
And by the time he called me back, he was in Texas in his layover to El Salvador. And he's like, "Hey, I have good news and bad news." And I'm like, "Oh, what happened now?" And he's
Tell
like,
me. Yeah. Yeah.
the good news is that your position was approved. We want to bring you on board as a video analyst. And it's like, "Okay, that's awesome. What's the bad news?" And it's like, the bad news is that you got to come tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was like, okay. And I'm emotional. There's no feeling like the national team, in
Oh
my
my
opinion.
God, you're through the roof.
Growing up, you dream of playing for the national team, and that never happens. And
Yeah.
the first thing I do is tell my wife, and she's like, "Do it. We'll figure it out." You know.
Go for it,
Um,
of course.
and then the next thing was to talk to my bosses. I had two bosses at the time: Terry Davila, Kelsey Northridge, and I think Terry Davila, Zach Feldman, AB for Real SoCal.
Yeah, yeah,
And hey guys, this happened. It's a great opportunity. The problem is, um, they want me to go tomorrow. And basically the conversation is, this happened, I need permission. And
Yeah, yeah.
fortunately, they all approved of it, and paperwork gets sent in overnight. Need to fax it in, and the next day was my birthday,
Oh
and
my gosh, yes.
and and so we had to. My wife had planned something, and she's like, "Hey, by the way, we had this plan for you." And so we did everything early that morning, something like this, and then that afternoon, I got on a plane, and
Where'd you go to? What was the first commitment?
El Salvador at home against Jamaica,
Okay.
and then 3 days later, 2 days later, at Panama against Panama.
For what
So
competition?
for World Cup qualifiers.
Oh my, what a dream!
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So it was awesome, and I remember uh okay, I needed games. Guys, what do you guys have? Do you guys have a camera to film training games? Do you guys have a program? So you have to figure all those things out
Yeah,
in an
yeah.
instance,
Put it all
and
together. Yeah.
then they didn't tell me what they needed. So now in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they don't have a video analysis department. They've never had one before, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Um, so I need to figure out if I'm the head coach, what would I want? So start breaking down Jamaica by zones, all these things,
Yeah.
Panama, all of that. And it's a 6 hour flight. I get a lot of work done. They also had played Bolivia, I believe, in Washington. Broke that down, and then I remember just hopping on a plane, getting there, getting a ride to the Federation. I meet Alex Roldan, who plays at Seattle Sounder. He was on the same flight as I was,
Yeah.
which was awesome. And maybe not on the same flight, but we landed at the same time. And yeah, and that's how it started. It was so fast.
Wow. 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 Yeah, and where do you go now with them? How often do you get called to go with the national team? What's the schedule like?
So unfortunately, it doesn't last very long. At some points, Hugo moves on. There's a lot that goes on, and Hugo moves on. I move on.
Yeah,
It was the right thing, and um, just went back to the regular lifestyle of college club soccer, college club soccer. But
yeah,
for
yeah.
those two years, I believe
Two
it
years.
was it was pretty difficult. It was difficult to juggle everything because you have responsibilities as a youth coach, you have responsibilities as a college coach, and thankful for the people that were my bosses at the time that helped me
Supporting you. Yeah.
helped me have that opportunity, and I learned a lot from all of those things.
Wow, that is so amazing. Congratulations. I was already a fan. Now I'm even more knowing the details about it all. That's incredible. That's amazing.
It's pretty awesome just talking about it. I smile. It makes me smile because it was fun. There's, again, it's not pretty. There's good stuff that happens.
Yeah.
There's stuff that you're like, what's going on? Why is this happening?
Yeah.
But all worth it at the end, and it helps you grow.
No, that's life, isn't it? It's not always perfect. It's you got to figure it out.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
So now let's go back to LAFC.
Now, and again, somebody that puts your name out there for you without you asking sometimes gives you the opportunity. I actually had two opportunities with LAFC, and the second one was very interesting. It was, hey, we need a video analyst who can do it remotely. And I did that for a few months.
Yeah.
And then in January of this year, fortunate to do it in person. And working with Junior has been unbelievable. Fabian and Klein and Danny Califf, who is a player development coach. It's been unbelievable to work with them closely, learning a lot, and it's different from what I was used to.
Yeah.
But it's also awesome because it's different, and it motivates you to learn. It motivates you to do better than that you did before. And then the best thing about it is I'm lucky. I get the best of both worlds, I believe, because I get to see that level, and then I get to um, coach my teams at LA Surf.
Yeah.
They're different levels, different players, which is completely normal. But I'm enjoying it, and you get to do a little bit of video work, and you get to watch the first team train. You get to watch the first team compete at the BMO Stadium. It's awesome. It's awesome. I'm very fortunate.
What is the integration of the first and the second team there? Do they train side by side, different times? Do any of the second team players go up to the first team?
It's a challenge. I'm very intrigued by how all the pieces move to be able to be competitive from a first team standpoint and the second team. My focus is primarily with the second team,
Yeah.
but yes, there are times where players compete with the first team and then they're competing with the second team. Um, the first team trains at a certain time, the second team trains at a different time. And just like that with the academy, there's so many moving pieces from top to bottom that but it's also what makes it interesting and different and unique at that level because you have to um, compete, you have to develop players. And my job is very unique because I handle all the video of everything from the video perspective, and it's my kind of like little circle where and it's one thing I've learned about this level is that everybody has their specialty,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sort of like a complex system, right? You have the coaches, you have the performance staff, you have the medical staff, you have the analysis staff, and all those pieces are ongoing each day,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you have to do your role so that the whole is kind of put together in a sense. Um, and Yeah, it's pretty fun and interesting at the same time.
That's amazing. That is really, really amazing. Do you guys record all the training sessions?
100%. Every session is filmed. We use a drone to film the session, so you get the view from above, and it's kind of fun. You get to fly a drone for during training, and you get to see what that looks like and how that transpires to the game. And that's something that I've learned a lot from Junior. The way he teaches, the way he manages the players, the way he manages us as staff, the way he works with me. There's an ownership from to a certain level where you have to do your job, and there's also the opportunity for you to show the work that you do, and you get to see how he trains, how even how the first team trains because it's very similar. It's the same thing, um, and how training translates to the game, and then you get to see the video before and after and then you repeat. And I think that's one of the most rewarding things for me to be able to see that and to put together with the guidance of the coaches, put together something that the players can see.
Amazing. Really, really amazing. So, Victor, one thing that I always say is, and it's something that you also said before, it's a matter of can you do it over and over and over again and develop the discipline. I actually have a what I call is the 3D formula. It's the discipline for daily development. And the reason why I was asking if you guys record every training session, basically when you're being recorded, when you put the GPS on, you have the tracker, you know exactly what's going on. There's no hiding. So you have to show up every day. You have to do your best on a daily basis. Obviously, there's days pre-game, it's very different. Post-game, there are recovery sessions and all of that, but we're talking about having to show up, showing up and doing your best on a daily basis. So what advice would you give to someone that wants to play at a higher level, someone that wants to be a pro? Because what I hear a lot is I want to be a pro, but they don't understand the amount of hard work that really, really takes to get to that next level. And everybody thinks, oh yeah, once I arrive, once I get to the pro level, I've made it. And it's no, you're barely starting. It's very, very difficult. And it takes an amount of effort that people don't fully understand. You are right now, you're in Arizona, you're away from family. The day that you got called in to go to the El Salvador national team is your birthday. So you got to adapt, you got to change, you got to be alone, you got to be in hotels, you got to take flights. And it's not an easy path. It's a very beautiful path if that's what you really want to do. But there's a side that a lot of people don't really see, that is the path to get there. And once you get there, to stay at that level or from that level, like you've done in your career. You've got to a level, you want to climb, you want to keep on moving, you want to continue going. So, what advice would you give? And this can be translated also not only for someone that wants to be a pro soccer player, someone that wants to level up in life in whatever they're doing, whether it's a coach, it's a business guy, if it's a player, whatever the case may be.
I think showing up is important. Do it every day. And a non-negotiable for me is work ethic. Being the hardest worker is an important piece. And knowing that you are going to work hard every day, you're going to try to improve every single day, but it's not always going to be perfect, or it's not going to be great, and it's not going to feel good. Sometimes you will work hard, sometimes you will do your best and you fail, or it didn't go as you planned. It's with the doing it again after that, and the emotional, I guess the emotional process of going from that to having the energy to do it again,
Mm-hmm.
and then again, where at some point you go through that roller coaster of up and down, and then you get used to that change of emotion of the level. It's sort of like a spectrum, right? It's that change of emotion with the consistent hard work that helps you mature, helps you grow. And on top of that, maybe you have, maybe your sessions don't get filmed, but maybe your games will. And then you support that, you add that to your development, you get the feedback from coach. Sometimes coach puts pressure on you. Sometimes the pressure comes from your parents or from yourself. Maybe you're getting recruited, maybe you're not. All of those combination, all those things put together
Yep.
is part of the puzzle. And I'm a believer of the process. It's not always going to be pretty, but you just have to keep trying and trying and trying. But most importantly, you have to ask for help, in a sense where you do need help. Your coach, ask your coach for video. I'm a believer of video. I love it, and I think that it helps. How does that translate to the field? How does that translate to training? How does that translate to the game? And that's an important piece. You don't have to do it all alone, and your coach is there for that reason. And now you can see it on social media. There are so many people out there that want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you need to find the right people that can support you. Maybe it's through the college process, maybe it's through extra training or strength and conditioning. Even video analysis, there are people out there that's what they do. They go watch your game, they break it down, and they go over details of your game. And that process is very similar to what the next level is. Next level is college. In college, you have to go to school, you have to watch film, you have to train, you have to do all those things and then do all over again. College is hard. I've heard many players say that college is harder than being a pro because you have to go to school. You know, um,
Gotta
and then
juggle
once you're
both.
yeah, and once you are a pro, you the harsh truth about being a pro is you trains, everybody works hard, everybody's good, and sometimes you don't get picked to play, and that happens in college as well. And then it also happens at the U19 level, the U17 level, even younger than that. And it's 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 a process that needs to be, I would say you need to make peace with it. It's the way it is, and but under the right circumstances of support, which is important. I think a lot of times the support is not there, and that's what makes players deviate away from the game. It's okay for it to be hard, but you have to support your players as well.
Absolutely.
Um,
100%. And Victor, you are obviously a professional. You are a video analyst. What can you say to someone that is looking to play in college now and putting together a highlight video? Is this something that you do? Is this something that you help people? Is this something that you can tell them what should a good highlight video have for a college coach to go, wow, I want to know more. I want to see more. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, please?
yeah, the before I was a college coach, I started a company. It was very small. It helped me pay through college. And I basically made highlight films. And fortunately, I got to work with Kevin Weinrich, who is a FIFA agent, and I did all his highlight videos for a couple of years. And he taught me this, and he told me the first 30 seconds of a highlight film are it.
Mm,
And
okay.
and being able to put clips that show why you are different than others.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Um, if you're athletic and you're very fast, showcase that in your first couple of clips. If you are a midfielder that is a ball winner, good in the air, and distributes the ball well, show those things really well. If you're good in the air, show that first. If
Okay.
you are a goalkeeper, actions that whether it's crosses, shot stopping, 1v1s, whatever that is what you put there first, because those are the things that are gonna make you stand out. And it doesn't have to be very long, it's the first 30 seconds. After that, you know, ask any college coach, by the time they hit the 10-15 second mark, they already know. They know that they're gonna keep watching, or they know they're not. And my advice is to put together a video that truly showcases your strengths. And if there are other categories that also show that, then you can put them after, but the first 30 seconds are key.
I absolutely love that. That's great advice because a lot of people don't fully understand. They, like want to have 10-minute highlight video, and most coaches they don't watch that much. They just don't have the time. It's just too many other people that they got to get back to. And I love that. Thanks so much for sharing that. That's very valuable for people. And Victor, I have one final question for us to wrap this up, and it's one that will take you on a journey for sure. I started the 1% Club in the hardest part of my life. I had a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges going, and it was very hard for me to see what would the next day bring. I could only see basically what I could do today. I could only focus on doing my best for the day. I didn't really plan ahead. I was like, you know what? I'm going to win the day today. This is going to be my battle against myself. What tomorrow brings, I don't know. I was getting divorced at the time. It was in the middle of COVID. I had no job. Oh, we were all in California at the time. It was very difficult to know what would happen after. So my focus was 1%. Little by little, I will get there. I don't know what will happen, but I know what depends on me. I am going to be very, very self-accountable, self-aware, honest with myself, and win my own battle against myself and try my hardest. And I've been in that journey every day without exception for over 5 years now. That happened December 9th, 2019. And the reason why I remember so vividly is because December 10th, it's my birthday. So it was the day that it completely changed my life. So, was there ever a moment in your life that things were so hard and you said in the beginning, when Real SoCal, you go through the ups and downs and you think about quitting, you think about going a different route, but you persisted, you kept on going? Is there a moment that you can single out for us here to say, hey, I almost went away from where I am now? Does anything come to mind?
It's the moment. It's when you reach. I think it's when you reach a milestone. I think when I'm gonna say I dropped out of college to go to junior college. I don't know, but when I made that transition, I think I made a an adult decision because I thought it was the right thing for me and the family and my parents specifically. And that is when I realized I need to set goals. I need to come up with a plan. And and like I mentioned earlier, I knew I needed to be prepared. So education was important. Um, I needed a plan to do that. I knew that I needed to figure out how to get involved in the game. And you know, I kept it simple. In 5 years, I want to do X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
I needed to educate myself through college. I did that. I got my undergrad and my master's. I even thought about getting my PhD. Um, Decided not to do that because of, I didn't feel that it was for me. But at the same time, at the same time you're going through college, you need to educate yourself as a coach.
Yeah.
So you go through licenses, things like that. Um, and at some point, I wanted to be, you know what? I wanted to be a top assistant. At some point, I said I wanted to have my own academy team. At some point, I wanted to maybe be in the pro. I just don't know where, how. I didn't know how. So once you reach those milestones, once you reach, you become an academy head coach, that's great. You become the top assistant, associate head coach, whatever that is. You get to it. Okay, what is next? And at some point, you realize, at least for me, you're never really content, I think, once you get to it.
Mhm.
And that is like there's always something that drives you to do more. And for me, I know you mentioned that period before COVID, after COVID. For me, it was when I was able to get to where I wanted to get to, and then I became a father, and I realized the effect of what I wanted to do would have on the family. And it did. And I saw it happen. And it's very difficult not being around. I remember being with the national team for a month, 2 months out of the country. And it was really, it was fun from a professional standpoint, but it
Takes a
was
toll.
difficult from a personal standpoint because that's like a month, 2 months that I didn't see my boy, and he's 3 years old now. And I think since I left college, I've seen him more during that period than I did the first couple of years, which is to me is I couldn't do it. And that is, I think, where you need to zoom out and figure out what is important to you. You still love the game, you want to be involved in the game, and I figured out a way. Um, and I'm kind of getting again the best of like I told you earlier, I'm very fortunate. I get to do something I really love on from the video analysis standpoint. I still have my hands on coaching, which I love. And I get to see my family and my kids, that is important. And even now it's still difficult because I'm in a hotel room right now in Arizona. and I'm not with my kids. That still happens, but I think once you, just like you said, 1% each day, um, maybe I don't word it that way, but we're probably doing similar things where each day you have to improve somehow. And that somehow usually has to do with what happened yesterday,
Yeah,
where you're at now, and you have an idea of where you want to get to. And you have to merge all those things while dealing with whatever's going on. And everybody has their own challenges. And you have to, I think zooming out is the correct term, or the way to look, zoom out and look at it from a bird's view, like just like in soccer, the video analysis, you film the session, you see everything.
yeah,
That I
yeah,
think that's an important piece. When you're a player, you only see you, the 1v1, you only see that.
yeah.
um and for anybody that's listening, I think if there's any advice, it would be that, to zoom out, and it helps you be self-aware, and it helps you figure out where you're at, where you want to go to, and then it's all actionable. Do it, and take a chance. If there's anybody you bet on, is yourself, and because you control everything you do from that point.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love it. You change your perspective, you change your lenses, you see from a different point of view that maybe you didn't see before. Victor, I am a big fan. I am honored to have had the chance to sit down with you and learn from you, learn your story a lot deeper. And I admire what you're doing. I really, really love the fact that you are helping so many people. You are leading by example and you're showing others what is possible to do through hard work, dedication, being a good father, being a good coach, being a good video analyst. You're looking to become your best version. And I admire that very, very much. That's exactly what I aim to be. And my goal sitting down with people like yourself is exactly that, to show others that when you have a clear and a good intention, a good heart, good values, good morals, good things happen. And you are on the path to becoming someone very, very special. You are already, and
Thank you.
I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. So best of luck with everything. Is there any final words? Is there anything that you would like to share with our listeners here, with our viewers? Anything else?
No, I always say, when somebody like yourself, for example, what you're doing with your program, and you put yourself out there, I think there's always a reason to do that, and we do what we do because we want to help others. And I can see that you are doing the same thing. And and believe it or not, whatever we're trying to do now, we we lived it, and we're still trying to live it, and each day. So again, just like I've heard your story as well, and it's fascinating. It's something that you don't know unless you really sit down with a human being and you try to connect and have a conversation about it. It's an honor to be here and have this time to chat about our paths, and I look forward to what's next. And we got to keep in touch, and hopefully we get to see each other again. I don't want to compete against you because those games are rough, as they were back then. But
Yeah.
yeah, it would be awesome. But thank you again. It was a lot of fun, and thank you.
Thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much again for being here, for listening, for watching. Our objective is to help inspire people, and whatever you're going through right now on your path in your life, continue going, continue believing. One more day, one more battle, 1% better.